I want to start talking to you today in what I hope will become a new series on books that impressed me or books that have become world famous and enduring with good reason, because these books, in English, of course, are so impactful. For me, one of the most impactful books that I ever read was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. And I would like to discuss this book with a certain structure. So I will provide an introduction to the book, a summary of the plot or the story. We have to analyze the characters. I will touch on themes and symbols, the book's language and style, as well as its historical and cultural context. And I will end the discussion by providing my personal reflection. It's a sin to kill a mockingbird, we learn in the book, because a mockingbird does no harm. So to kill a mockingbird could be seen as an injustice, and injustice and the loss of innocence, presumably by killing a mockingbird, are some of the strong themes that run through this very powerful novel. Now, the events portrayed in the novel, they take place in the 1930s in America, in a fictional town which is named Maycomb in Alabama. Events in the novel takes place against the background of the social and racial dynamics of the American South at that time in the 1930s. Now, the main character and the narrator or storyteller is called Jean-Louise Finch. Her nickname is Scout, and we come to know her as a curious young girl with a thirst for knowledge. As we, the readers, experience the story through her eyes, we can get a unique perspective on the unfolding events in the book. She is joined in the story by her older brother Jem and a friend from out of town whose name is Dill. Now, in the town where Scout and Jem live and where Dill visits them, racial discrimination between white and black is found all over, and there are strict social hierarchies between rich and poor people. The character at the heart of the story is the father of Scout, and his name is Atticus Finch. Atticus Finch is a principled and morally upright lawyer who serves as a symbol of strength and integrity in a community that lives in the shadow of prejudice. When Atticus is asked to defend a black man whose name is Tom Robinson, now Tom Robinson is accused of raping a white woman, and Atticus agrees to defend this guy. This sets in motion a series of events that challenge the deeply rooted racism of the town. The trial of Tom Robinson becomes a central point in the novel, which exposes the town's racism and it demonstrates injustice. That's just a very brief introduction to the book. Let's look at a summary of the plot, the story as it unfolds. Now, Scout and Jem enjoy their childhood activities. They are on holiday, and their father, Atticus Finch, as we've already heard, takes on a difficult case. He has to defend Tom Robinson, who is accused of raping Mayella Ewell. Mayella Ewell is a white woman. Now, the trial of Tom Robinson is a crucial and important moment in the book. Atticus passionately presents the case for Tom's innocence, despite the fact that the town has a very strong racist sentiment. Scout and Jem, they witness, together with their friend Dill, they witness the injustice and equality that's present throughout the courtroom, kind of mob rule, if you want to call it that. Meanwhile, the children become curious about a neighbor of theirs whose name is Boo Radley. Boo Radley, which at first is seen as a kind of scary figure, becomes in their eyes a kind and generous person. He shows throughout the book acts of kindness and protection, which is in contrast to the harsh realities of the community. So, in a way, Boo Radley challenges the society's prejudices. Now, in their contact with Boo, in their witness of the injustice, Scout and Jem undergo personal growth and learn life lessons. They confront racism and begin to understand the importance of empathy and understanding. Their neighbor, Miss Maudie, and their African American housekeeper, Calpurnia, help them to gain insights into the complexities of human nature and the need for compassion in difficult times. The story reaches a climax when Scout and Jem are attacked by Bob Ewell, who is Mayala Ewell's vengeful father. They are saved by Boo Radley. And as the story ends, Scout reflects on the lessons that she has learned about the destructive nature of prejudice and the importance of embracing shared values. She comes to understand her father's unwavering commitment to justice and equality and recognizes the courage and strength that is required to stand up against prevailing social norms. I'm not going to say more about the plot of the book. You should really read it for yourself to come to a very good understanding of this very powerful story. Let's meet the characters. And I just thought I'd play a little bit, and I asked AI to draw me pictures of what these characters could look like. Now, a novelist, a good novelist at least, will use characters as the primary vehicles through which the readers will experience and connect with the story. Characters allow us to develop a deeper understanding of the themes and messages and also drive the plot forward by what they do, what they decide, and how they interact with each other. This creates tension and it helps to drive the story forward. Characters also allows a novelist to explore and to represent various aspects of human nature and various aspects of society, because characters can embody different personalities, different backgrounds, different beliefs, social roles, and so on, to reflect the complexity and the diversity of the real world. This helps us to gain insight into the world. Scout Finch, already we heard about her. She is the main character and she is the narrator, the storyteller of the novel. She is a curious young girl and she asks a lot of questions. Throughout the story, Scout learns and grows, gaining a better understanding of her community. Her innocence and honesty give a new perspective to us, the readers, on issues like racism and unfairness. Scout's journey encourages readers to think about what is right and what is wrong. Atticus Finch, the father of Scout and Jem, is a very important character in the book. He is a principled lawyer who believes in justice and fairness, even when he is faced with difficulties. Atticus' strong commitment to defending Tom Robinson, despite the town's racism, shows his integrity and bravery. His words, sorry about that. Through his words and actions, Atticus becomes a role model and he teaches valuable life lessons to his children while inspiring readers to challenge the norms of society and, most importantly, to fight for what is right. Older brother of Scout is Jem Finch. Jem is going through a significant journey of personal growth in the novel. At first, he becomes curious and adventurous, but the racism and unfairness that he witnesses turns him to become disappointed and angry. His transformation reflects the loss of innocence that happens when people realize that the world around them is not perfect. The mysterious neighbor, Boo Radley, plays a big role in the story. And initially, the children fear and misunderstand him. Finally, he becomes a symbol of kindness and goodness. So, Boo challenges stereotypes and he shows us how important it is to look beyond appearances to see the humanity in other people. Calpurnia is the housekeeper of the Finch family. She's an African American and she acts as a bridge between Scout and Jem and the African American community in Maycomb. She guides the children to help them understand racial dynamics and she teaches them important lessons about empathy and respect. Her character represents resilience, wisdom, and strength in a deeply divided society. Mayala Ewell, she is a young white woman who accuses Tom Robinson of raping her. She is influenced by prejudice, and her character shows the harmful effects of racism and societal pressures. She reminds us of the importance of empathy, even towards those who contribute to injustice. I guess today we can call Mayella something like a Karen. Bob Ewell is her father of Mayella, and he's the story's antagonist. He embodies ignorance, prejudice, and cruelty. He is motivated by revenge, and he is driven by a deeply ingrained racism. He highlights the destructive nature of prejudice and its impact not only on individuals, but also on communities. This moves us on to themes and symbols. Now, the first theme that we discover is that of racial injustice. The book explores racial injustice in the racially divided town of Maycomb, Alabama. It highlights the harmful effects of racism, and the trial of Tom Robinson is a powerful portrayal of racial injustice, urging readers to strive for equality and fairness. Second theme is the theme of the loss of innocence. The novel explores the gradual loss of innocence that is experienced by Scout and Jem. As they witness prejudice and injustice, their perception of the world changes us, transitioning from childhood and its innocence to the complexities of adulthood. Third theme is moral compass and integrity. Atticus Finch represents moral righteousness in the story. He is unwaveringly committed to justice in defending Tom Robinson and sets an example of integrity. He challenges us as readers to examine our own moral values. The fourth theme, empathy and understanding, is highlighted through Scout's interactions with Boo Radley. Atticus also teaches his children to empathize with others. It emphasizes the need to treat others with kindness and respect, no matter who they are or where they come from. Of course, the mockingbird is the most powerful symbol in the book. It symbolizes innocence, goodness, and vulnerability. They do no harm to anyone, so it is a sin to harm a mockingbird. Tom Robinson and Boo Radley are compared or likened to mockingbirds. They are two innocent individuals who are harmed by society. The Radley house is a symbol of darkness, perhaps mystery and fear and the unknown. It also reflects the town's gossip and rumors about Boo Radley. It's kind of a metaphor for the barriers and misconceptions that divide people. The treehouse is a symbol of refuge and childhood innocence. It provides a temporary escape from the complex adult world, and it contrasts with the injustice of Maycomb. Tom Robinson's trial is, of course, a very powerful symbol because it symbolizes racial injustice and prejudice. The unfairness of the trial exposes the flaws within the justice system, and it urges readers to question societal norms and unequal treatment. Language and style. Language refers to the words and grammar that an author uses to tell a story, setting the tone, describing characters and events, and conveying emotions, while style is the unique way that an author writes, using techniques like metaphors, imagery, and dialogue. It creates a specific mood, it expresses the themes, and it makes the story engaging. Language and style brings the story to life, creates a unique atmosphere, and conveys deeper meanings. She uses the Southern dialect. One example is buying cotton. Buying cotton means not doing anything productive. She also uses figurative language throughout the book, such as prejudice is a disease. Very strong figurative language there. She provides a narrative perspective, the perspective of the storyteller, if you will. And as we know, Scout Finch is our storyteller, so much of what happens in To Kill a Mockingbird we see through the eyes of Scout Finch. Experiencing the events from her perspective offer us a unique and very relatable viewpoint. She also uses techniques, she being the author, Harper Lee, uses techniques such as flashbacks, looking back into the past, and foreshadowing, telling of or imagining things to come, hinting future events to make the story more interesting and engaging. It gives us insight into the characters, especially through flashbacks. We can learn something about their past or what happened in their past to cause them to behave in the way they do now. The historical and cultural context of the novel To Kill a Mockingbird is the American South during the 1930s, and it helps us a lot to understand this background because it enhances our understanding and enjoyment of the story, which takes place during the Great Depression, a period of severe economic hardship in the United States. The characters face poverty and difficulties as a result of this economic crisis. Maycomb, the town that doesn't really exist, shows how poverty affects the society. It also examines the era of racial segregation and Jim Crow laws that were prevalent in the American South, enforcing the strict separation of races and perpetuated discrimination against African Americans. The author portrays the racial hierarchy and prejudice through the characters and event in the story, using the trial of Tom Robinson to exemplify the injustices faced by Black individuals within the legal system. She also uses Gothic elements. Gothic novel is a type of scary story, and that usually takes place in spooky locations such as old castles or haunted houses. It combines horror, romance, and mystery, and the Gothic stories usually involve intense emotions, sometimes supernatural events, and it explores themes such as darkness and madness and the unknown. Of course, in the story of To Kill a Mockingbird, the Boo Radley house provides us with the Gothic element. Finally, she addresses the concept of Southern honor and strict gender roles. Characters in Maycomb adhere to societal expectations where men are responsible for protecting their families' honor and women are confined to traditional domestic roles. The book explores the constraints imposed by these gender roles and challenges them through characters like Scout and Calpurnia. Finally, we get to the personal reflection that I promised at the beginning. We can identify several strong themes in this book. I think prejudice Prejudice is exposed by the book, but we also find a lot of prejudice, don't you think, in online behavior nowadays. Characters in the book encounter discrimination based on race, social status, but online users today also encounter unfair judgments based on appearance or background, or mostly opinion. So, in my opinion, or it is my feeling, that the book that is set in the 1930s in America is as relevant today as it ever was, because the online world is a kind of Maycomb. It's a kind of a world where we find all of these characters and all of these behaviors reflected. For example, also the idea of justice, right? In the book, we read of a trial where justice is questioned, and it highlights the importance of fairness and equality. And even today, in the online world, we find a constant demand for justice, especially as far as cyberbullying and harassment is concerned. A third important theme to me is empathy. Both platforms, online and the book, emphasize the significance of empathy and understanding. It encourages compassion and empathy. We should be able to step into someone else's shoes. Can we say the same of social media? What do you think? Or is social media these days a place where people just throw insults at each other, where hate grows and becomes strong and a powerful force? It sometimes makes me so sad when I consider what is happening in online platforms. Does our online platforms do our online platforms today encourage bullying behaviors similar to that of the crowd storming Maycomb's jail in the hope of lynching Tom Robinson? Do we contribute to this? I can say that To Kill a Mockingbird is without doubt a literary masterpiece, and it continues to present readers, or at least me, with thought-provoking characters and situations. Its exploration of profound themes and its timeless relevance make it a novel that calls for deep reflection and should be compulsory reading for everyone. I want to conclude today's discussion by quoting Hippocrates, ancient Greek doctor, and he had the oath of Hippocrates, which any medical person will tell you what it is. As to diseases, make a habit of two things: to help, or at least to do no harm. And that is perhaps a very good summary of what this novel is trying to tell us. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to meeting you again in a video in future. Thank you and have a lovely day.